JP Down4Sound Korean-built amplifiers. That's right. We got a whole new line of amplifiers that are coming fresh out of South Korea. The JP43, 43, 63, and 83, ranging anywhere from 3,300 watts up to big dog 8,300. And as we've seen before with the 3,300 we've already tested, these numbers are underrated, so you can expect to get quite a bit more as long as you have voltage. So today we're going to check out the JP43, and aren't you glad we are?
You big dummy!
You knew it was coming, so don't be surprised. The JP43 currently $849.99. Again, these prices fluctuate, so don't hold me to that. But let's go ahead and cut open the box here and see what's inside. You can see we have a box within a box, and this one's orange. And each of these amplifiers, again, has its own unique box. And I would say make sure you hang on to these boxes. It makes it perfect for, storing the amp if you need to ship the amp when you sell it. But just a really good job here on the box, how it looks. Very clean. Again, each amplifier has its own unique look. Now look at the back. This is just blew me out of the water. The art design here by Jacob Scott. He's really, really talented. He did a lot with these amps too, so give him some credit. But yeah, the amplifier itself here, it's inside of another box, again, to make sure we protect it. We get 3 of Allen's keys as well as an adjustment screw there for the potentiometers. The owner's manual covers the 33, 43, 63, and 83. We get the USB-C to USB-A cable. That's for the remote base connector. And here it is. Again, this is a wireless connector, but it does require power. And it has the voltage, it has temperature in Fahrenheit and Celsius, as well as a clip indicator, and also shows you when it's paired. You can turn the amplifier off and on with this as well. Just a really killer bass knob. So I think you guys will like it. Now, I did mention this before in a previous video, but you have to make sure that this is plugged into USB-C constantly, like a battery pack or your vehicle. This doesn't have a battery built in, so you can't charge it up and then use it somewhere else. You do have to have it plugged in. But again, it keeps you from having to run the cable from the back to the front of your car too. So in that way, it is a win. As I mentioned before, all these amps have their own unique color. The JP43 is a brilliant orange. They're all anodized. And of course, these have the look of the old school US amps from back in the 90s. They had US amps engineers involved with the design of the heatsink, so that's why. On one end of the amp, you have the really beefy Tiffany style inputs and outputs, as well as the master out or slave input, power protect clip lights, gain control 0.2 to 6 volts, subsonic 10 hertz to 50 hertz, low pass filter 250 down to 35, phase 0 to 180, as well as you have the speaker outputs. This is a monoblock amp, so when you see a monoblock that has 2 different speaker outs, it just means it's easier to connect a dual voice coil or multiple subs. Those are 4 gauge, so plenty of beefy output there. On the opposite side, just like the JP33, dual 1-aught inputs. The connector on the left there has got your power remote terminal, so you can turn on the amp. And of course, on the back, you have the Lexan panel, so you can see the guts of the amp. Beautiful. As far as ratings go, 4 ohms, 1,300 watts, 2 ohms, 2,300, 1 ohm, 4,300, all RMS numbers at 14.4 volts. As far as dimensions go, 15.75 on the long side, 9.4 width, 2.6 on the height. Again, the width and the height of all these amplifiers are the same. I'm not going to talk about the setup of the amp dyno. You can see previous videos for that, but I will talk about what you'll see on the screen. For those who haven't seen the test before, the amp dyno displays the wattage output, the ohm load, the voltage, as well as I have a clamp up there at the top so you can see the current pull. All the numbers are RMS. First up, let's try the 4 ohm test rated 1,300 watts at 14.4. Again, we're using the lithium LTO bank, so this is we'll have some strong voltage. 2124, 14.77, so quite a bit more than the rate of 800 watts overrated, 700 watts, 800 almost. Uncertified up to clipping, 2227, 14.74. Let's reset it for the dynamic test, sending a dynamic 40 Hertz pulse into the amplifier. In this case, we get a little bit less than the uncertified, but it's very close. 2209 at 14.87. Let's check that efficiency. We got 87%. We measured in the 90s for the JP43, but remember, we're using not lab grade equipment here, the Fluke clamp, so it could be off by a few percent, but still around 90% is really good. 2 ohms rated at 2300 watts at 14.4, 3754 at 14.68. Again, if you have the voltage, if you have the electrical system, which you really need to run an amp this big, you're really going to get plenty of power and a really good efficiency too. Almost 3800, 3798 uncertified at 14.64. Let's reset the dyno for that dynamic burst track. 40 Hertz pulse tone into the amp. Over 37, it keeps counting. 3756, 14.62. Efficiency again, really good, almost 90%, 89% at 2 ohms. Next up, we'll try the 1 ohm run. This is where it's rated 4300 watts, 14.4. Here we go. Strong voltage. What are we going to get? 5,712 watts at 14.58 volts. But don't get too upset because my voltage is high, because I'm going to rerun this after I do all 3 tests, and we're going to see what it's like at 14.4. So get ready for that. Uncertified, right at 6K, 5980. 14.5 volts. Again, this is easily a 5K, maybe a 5500 watt amplifier. So don't let that 4300 get you down. Dynamic 7313. Again, we have strong electrical, strong voltage here with our LTO bank. So yeah, it's what's recommended for an amp like this. Make sure you have plenty. Here is that other certified test. 14.4 volts. We got 5,729 watts. As for efficiency, we measured 76%. Anything to the mid-upper 70s at 1 ohm is a win in my book. All right, the results. The amplifier blew it out of the water. You can pause this if you want to see all the results. We include efficiency. You guys asked for that before, so I included that as well. If you want to see 0.8 or lower, you have to stick around to the end of the video. Now, let's try this Do It Bump Tho segment with the massive audio subwoofer. Let's try it out. All right, let's try some Bass I Love You 2 Flex and also see how much power we get. Here we go. Have this massive audio BOA 121 wired at 0.5 ohm. Let's try it on the JP43, 45 Hertz, see what kind of power we get. I don't think we're going to hit clipping before the speaker overexerts because of this box I have it in, but let's try it. Here we go. Yeah, so you can see there, the woofer is just getting choked by this box, but 2,500 watts without clipping at 1 ohm. Obviously the amp will do about double that, but got to get a better box for this speaker so we can actually try it out for good. Let's flip the amplifier over and find out what's inside, plus look at a little thermal imaging. Take the screws off the bottom here of this amplifier. I wouldn't recommend doing this because you do have to unplug the fan, and if you don't know what you're doing, you can mess things up, so be careful. As you can see here with the thermal imaging, the output chokes really are the hottest part, around 130 degrees Fahrenheit. But overall, the amp stayed really cool to the touch, and it didn't get anywhere near shutting down. As far as the rail caps, 160 volts, 2200 microfarad. Input filtering 35 volt, 1200 microfarad. This does have the FL, Is that Fruit Loops? I don't know. It's on the board. Pros and cons, things I like and what I think could be better or things to be aware of. Good stuff. Rated Power Plus in all modes. Double 1.0 inputs. Linkable. Has active cooling with a very quiet fan. The beefy Tiffany RCAs. And people ask me sometimes, why does it matter? Well, these mount to the amplifier itself, not to the board. So they give you more structural rigidity to your connection. Bluetooth bass remote, plexi bottom, and can it handle low impedances? You know we will find out. Bluetooth remote needs power. The remote volume is slow ramping. I've heard some people say, hey, we like it being slow ramping. So it's, again, just for you to notice. You will need upgraded electrical to run this amp because it's going to pull a ton of current. Korean made equals more money. So be prepared to pay more for the new technology. Overall, the JP43 killed it in all the different tests, subwoofer tests as well. This amplifier is awesome. Again, I am an affiliate with Down4Sound. I was not paid for this video. I am keeping the amp. You can look in the video description for all the details about how it works with this. I did give you all of my honest opinions. So thanks again for watching. Until next time, Big D, I'm out of here. For some reason, you guys always want to wire below 1 ohm. So we're going to try all these other tests just for you. First up, 0.8. It's getting low in here. Certified test first, 1% THD. 6409, 14.58. Bring the electrical and we will give you the power. Uncertified, 6728, 14.44. Dynamic into 0.8. Right at 8K. Oh, we got it. Look at that. It keeps going. 8,057 watts, 14.33. What about even lower? 0.67. Certified test first, 1% THD. 7,019 watts at 14.5 volts. Uncertified test up to the clipping point. 7208, 14.38. Dynamic burst. Look at this. We're getting close to 10K for this dynamic burst, but watch. Boom! 10,016 watts at 14.66. All right, what about half an ohm? Can we do half an ohm? Does it go into protect? Dynamic power, 12,224 watts RMS dynamically, 14.82. Word to your mother. Okay, so the OL here means we pulled more than 1,000 amps of inrush current as expected with 12,224 watts at 14.82 dynamically. Beast!